Well, hello, everybody. My name is Sue Slamar, and this is Excel Intermediate. I work at the Computer Help Desk, and the objectives of the class is by the end of the class, hopefully you'll be able to create a data form, use conditional formatting, and understand VLOOKUP. Okay, I'm going to go over some of the Excel ribbon components. This is on page 3 of your book if you did print the book. So this up here is what's considered the ribbon. Okay, so this is the ribbon. And then above the ribbon, I have the quick access toolbar. And by default, you get this little floppy disk, and that would signify save. Then next to that, you have an undo, and then you have a redo. Okay, you can modify this quick access toolbar by clicking this little triangle, upside down triangle here.
That's good. That's all.
Okay, and this currently shows what I have active in my quick access toolbar. So save, undo, and redo. Like I said, that comes by default. But one thing that I like to have in there is the print and print preview. So I'm going to click that. And now see, I've got the little piece of paper with the magnifying glass, which signifies print preview. So if I click that, it's showing me what my item would look like when it's printed. So I'm going to go back. You can modify it more to suit your needs by going to More Commands. And the first thing that comes up is popular commands. So these are all what they consider popular, what people use the most. It's in alphabetic order. So you can select any one of those. Then you have commands that aren't in the ribbon. So these are all the commands, alphabetic order, that aren't in the ribbon. I've never used any of those. And then last but not least, you have all commands, which would include the commands that aren't in the ribbon and the ones in the popular commands. So I'm just going to add one of these just to show you. I'm going to say align middle and say add. So now this is showing up in my current list. So when I click down here and say OK, there's my little thing for my align middle, whatever the heck that means. Okay, so I'm going to go back to more commands. And I don't really want that. So just so you know that once you put something in the quick access toolbar, it doesn't stay there forever. So I want to get rid of that one. So I'm going to click it and say remove. And then say OK. So now it's gone. Okay, are there any questions on that or comments? Okay. So Excel is, that goes all the way up to page 5 of your book. No, actually it goes up to page 7 of your book. So some more things in Excel. I'm going to go over the components of the worksheet. So as I said, most of the things you're going to find you're going to use are on the Home tab. So it's good to stay on the Home tab. And that way you don't have to put in your quick access toolbar. In the first grouping, you have your cut, which is a pair of scissors, copy, which is 2 pieces of paper, format painter, which we'll work with a little bit later, and then you have paste, which is the clipboard with the piece of paper. Okay, then your next grouping on the Home tab is your fonts. So here's all the different fonts and how you can say how you want your font to look. So right now, the font that I've selected is Calibri. I think that's the default. And the default is at 11 pitch. And then you can change the fill or the color of the font. Then you have your font alignments. Then you have your cursor for your number, how you can say how you want your numbers to show with a dollar sign, a percentage, or a comma. Then you have your conditional formatting, and we're going to do some of that a little bit later. And then we have, if you wanted to insert cells or format your cells. Move this here. And then you have some editing tools, which you have an auto sum, a fill, color, seek and find, and then sorting, which we'll do some of that later. Okay, so up here, in this box right here where it says B1, that's showing you the current active cell. See my cursor here is I'm in B1, so it's showing that B1 is active. And then in here, this is considered the formula bar. If you click in there, it'll show you, give you a little name. It says formula bar. Okay, Excel is made up of rows and columns. The rows are numbered 1 through 1,048,576 rows you have. And then your columns, you have over 16,000 columns. So your first set of columns go to A to Z. And then once we used up, if we used up to column Z, your next column is going to be AA, AB, AC. Then when it gets done with all the A's, it'll go BA, BC. It'll keep going until it used all 16,000 columns, which I don't even know where that ends up at. Any questions on that? Okay. So moving through your workbook, this is on page 9. I'm going to go to cell A1. So if I go and hit my tab, I'll move one cell to the right. If I do shift and tab, I'll move one to the left. The home key will bring you back to the first cell in that row. So right now, my active cell is F1. When I press the word home on my keyboard, HOME, it moves me back to the first cell in that row. So right now, I'm going to go to C3 and press home. So it moves me to A3. Okay, if I'm down here somewhere, or I don't know where I am, if I do Control Home, will always bring me back to A1. So I pressed Control Home and went to A1. Okay, you can also navigate the worksheet using the cursors on your keyboard. So if I move to the right, it goes to the right. I can move down. And I can move across. I'll go back to A1. It's always kind of good to stay in A1 and have the home key, because then you'll always know where you're at. But if you're not sure where you are, you can always do your Control Home. Okay. First thing I'm going to show you is how you can freeze rows and columns. This is on page 9 of your book. So let me pull up a worksheet that I know is big.
Voters.
Yes, that's what I'm looking for. Did I pass that? I did, didn't I? Okay. So this is a worksheet which we called, oh, that's the other thing I forgot to tell you. So Excel is called, it's called workbook. So you have a workbook, and within the workbook, you can have multiple worksheets. So like I have in that practice file that Annie sent you, there's multiple sheets in that workbook. So like right now I'm in the voters, right down here it says voters. Okay, so like I keep track of the statistics for the department. So I have statistics for 2011, then I have a sheet for January, a sheet for February, a sheet for March, so I have all the sheets of the same year in one workbook. So if I have to go back, I don't have to open up a whole new file. Okay, so going back to this voters, so if I look at this voters, if I scroll down, see, I no longer have any titles. So if I was to go input something, I don't necessarily know what to input because I don't know what the header is. If I go back up to the top, so the first one in column A is voter, then it's party, and B, C is precinct, then D is age group, last voted, etc. So I can have this stay on. So I'm going to go to the View tab. I'm going to go down to cell A2. And I'm going to go to this thing here, right here, where it says Freeze Panes. And I'm just going to click the first one. Now watch what's happened. So when I scroll down, I'm all the way in row 200. I could still see my titles at the top. When it prints, it only prints the titles once at the top. So to get rid of that, I'm just going to go freeze panes again and say unfreeze. So now it's unfrozen. Questions? Okay. Okay. I'm going to go back to that first worksheet. Okay. So I'm going to go to cell B1. So after I input something in B1 and I hit enter, it's going across. It's going to the right. Now you might be working on something where you want it to go up and down because you're inputting the same stuff. So you can change the direction of your cursor. And to do that, I'm going to go to the command up here that says File. Then I'm going to go to Advanced.
You went to account.
Oh, duh. Well, I don't have my glasses on. So we go back. Where is it? Where is it?
Under options, isn't it?
Options, yes. Advanced, okay. It usually shows up right away.
No.
See, it's not there.
It's below language.
It's the old language.
No, it's below language. Advanced.
Oh, duh. Thank you. You must have come to my class before. Okay, so under advanced, then that's what I was doing. I was going too fast. Over here, it has the direction. So right now my direction's going right. I could have it go down. I could have it go up, or I could have it go left. So that's how you would change the direction of your cursor. I'm just going to keep it at right. Because sometimes some people are used to always hitting the enter key when they enter something. You can hit the enter key or you can use your arrows to enter something. Okay, so I'm just going to say okay to that. Okay, questions? Okay. I'm going to go to the worksheet that's called 2011 Salesforce. So that's this one here. And I'm interested in finding out how much these people, these salespeople in the East did. So I'm going to go by their order amount, highlight their orders. Now look at the bottom of your screen. Unfortunately, you can't see it on mine. Let me see.
We can see yours.
You can. So it's showing it down here because I'm getting the Zoom stuff, so I can't see it. But it's showing you what's down there then. So it's in this, if I right click on, right now it's showing average, count, maximum, and sum. If I wanted to show a minimum, I can click the minimum, and now minimum's showing up. Okay? So that's how you can quickly audit, you know, if you want to just add something up real quick. So let's say I want to know how much the Northeast did too. So I'm going to hold the control key down and now highlight the figures for Northeast. And so now my total at the bottom is showing both the East and Northeast combined. Okay, any questions?
We did have one question and I'm answering it from Joe. Does the change of direction work for the individual workbook or is it universal for all workbooks? And I believe it's universal.
It's universal.
Yeah, so if you don't want it to work anymore, you have to go in there and change it. Okay.
Okay. So now we're going to do, this is on page 13 of your book. We're going to employ what's called the formula wizard. So I'm going to go back to that first worksheet, which was called Goal Seek. Okay, so I'm going to take out a loan. So I'm going to fill in some amounts here. I'm going to take a loan for $100,000. And the loan is going to be for 15 years. So I'm going to put in 180, 15 times 12. The interest rate is going to be 6%. So I'm going to put in 6. Okay, so now I want to figure out what this payment would be. So I'm going to click this FX here on the toolbar, formula bar, click that, and it gives me this little wizard thing. Okay, so it's saying I should type a brief description of what I want to do. Okay, in Excel, there's over 450 functions that you could do. So I'm going to type, I want to figure out a payment. So I'm going to type the word payment. And then say go. And then it brings up all these different things here which had to do with payment. The one I want, I know, because I've done this before, is PMT. So I'm going to click that one. It'll give you a little description down here at the bottom. It tells you what it's going to do. It's going to calculate the payment for a loan based on constant payments and constant interest rate. So I'm going to say okay to that. And now this little box comes up. So excuse me. So the first thing it wants to know is what's the rate? Well, the rate is this 6% right here. So I can type in there B3, but a nicer thing to do is just I'm going to point to B3. Then I know I'm grabbing the right thing. Okay, since this is going to be paid monthly, I have to divide that by 12. So I'm going to do the slash, which stands for divide, 12. The next one is N per, and there's a little description at the bottom here. It's the total number of payments for the loan, which is this 180. So I click that. Then PV says that's the present value of the loan, which is this one here. And so it gives me my answer, which is like 843. And I know that that's right. I'm going to say, okay. So that's how you would calculate a loan payment. So that can be kind of handy if you want to do some refinancing, you want to know what your payments are going to be equal to. Okay, and that's on page 11 of your book. And it goes all the way up to page 15. Questions? Okay. So I'm going to go now and I want to create a
We have a
data.
question.
Oh, okay.
Minute. Why is the answer a negative number?
It's negative because it's reducing the 100,000. So if you multiply this negative number by the 180, you'll come to 0.
Okay.
Okay, so now I'm going to create a data form. So I'm going to go back to that voters. Now, I got some new voter cards to input. So I'm going to give this to one of our clerks to input the voters because I don't do these mundane duties like that. I have people that do that stuff for me. So, but the clerk that's going to do this isn't really that familiar with Excel. So I'm afraid that she'll mess up this file because I can go anywhere over here and type, it'll overlay whatever was typed there before. So I have the fear of her doing that. So I'm going to create a form for her to do that. So I'm going to go back to that quick access toolbar, go to more commands, and then look under popular commands, which is alphabetic order, and I'm going to look for form.
It's not in popular commands.
Well, that's what my book says.
No, it says.
It's in all commands. Never
Yeah.
mind. Okay, so I'm going to all commands and go to look for the word form. It's in alphabetic order. And here it is right here. So I'm going to click that and say add. And then I'm going to say okay. Okay, so now when I go and click this little form here, see what comes up? It's showing me all the names that's on the top and the headers. So I'm going to go and say new, and I'm going to just put some numbers in. I'm going to say this is going to be voter 900. And the party is going to be undecided. And the precinct is going to be 23. And the age group is going to be, I'll just say 65. And the last time this person voted was in 2010. And they've been registered for 45 years. And the ballot status is permanent. Okay, so I'm going to click the next new. Now I'm going to go close this box. I'm going to go to the bottom. It'll automatically put it at the bottom. So to get to the bottom of the worksheet, I do Control End, END. And there's my last person I just input. So it automatically puts them at the bottom. Okay, any questions on that? So I'm going to go back to home, Control Home, to get back to the top again. I have another person being admitted, Annie. I admitted 3 people already. Okay, that's covered up to page 19 of your book. Okay, questions? Comments? Okay. Now, sometimes when you get data, you may not like the way it looks. So I'm going to go to the 2010 Salesforce. Okay, now, I really don't need these people's first name. So I need to separate their first and last name. I'm putting it in separate columns. Okay, this is on page 20 of your book. So I'm going to go in between column B and C. I'm going to highlight the column. I'm going to right click and say insert. So now I've inserted a blank column. Okay. I'm going to go and click this. Now I'm going to go to the data tab. In the data tab, I'm going to go text to columns. Click that. Oh, but first what I need to do, wait. Cancel. First, I need to highlight this column. Okay, now I'm going to go text to columns. And now it's showing Smith Cameron with the comma in there. Okay, the first thing it asks me is how is your data displayed? And it's delimited. Characters are separated by a comma or tab. So mine's separated by a comma. So I'm going to say next. Then it asks me, what am I using? What's the qualifier that I'm using? So mine, it's not a tab. I'm going to unclick tab and click comma. Now see how it put a space in between those? A line in between us. So I'm going to say next. And that's how I want it to look. So I'll say finish. And I'm going to say okay to this. And there it moved my first names into a separate column. Okay, that goes up to page 23 of your book. Okay, any questions? Confusion? Okay.
To keep our community safe, masks are required for all patrons, including those who've been vaccinated. Masks must cover the nose, mouth, and chin at all times. Patrons who do not wear masks properly will be asked to leave. Maintain a distance of at least 6 feet from others. Limit visits to 1 hour per day. Place all unwanted materials on marked carts. Wash or sanitize hands often, and refrain from eating and drinking in the building. Thank you.
Okay, now that they did the announcement, I'm going to open up a new worksheet. So to do that, I go to File, New. I'm going to select the blank worksheet. And then I have to go to my share, I have to do a new share and use my blank worksheet. Share. Okay, so everyone got a blank worksheet showing up on their screens? Okay. So we're going to do some what's called, an autofill. So if you were in the first class, you'll remember that Excel has some built-in autofills, like say if I type JAN for January, and if I go and grab it in the corner, it'll automatically fill. I can spell out January. And then if I go to grab the fill handle, it'll spell it out all the way. I can do the same with days of the week. So I'll do month for Monday. Grab. And then I can do spell out Monday. And drag. Okay, so maybe you work in an office or something and you're always having to put the same things over again. I used to work for an insurance company. And so we used to track the sales results of our different districts. So I had, every time we would start a new workbook, I'd have to, a worksheet, I'd have to input all these same districts over and over and over again. So Excel has a way that you can make up your own custom autofill list. Okay, so to do that, I'm going to go to the File tab again. I'm going to go to Options. I'm going to scroll down. No. Then I'm going to go to Advanced. Then I'm going to scroll down. It's in the General tab. And I'm in the General tab here. And it says Create List. So I'm going to do Edit Custom List. I'm going to click that. Then this shows me what lists I currently have. So I'm just going to type West, East, North. Oh, I didn't do that one right. North, and then South. And I'm going to say, okay. I'm going to say, close this then. Now I'm going to go over here in column F, and I'm going to type East. And then when I go and get my fill handle, it automatically fills them all in. So that can save you some time if you're always having to put the same data in all the time. Now you can go and modify your list. I'm going to go back again because I don't need that in there anymore. I'm going to go to Options, go to Advanced, and go to my General tab and edit the custom lists. I'm going to click on that list and say delete. It asks me, are you sure? And yes, I'm sure. So I say, okay. So now it's gone. Questions on that?
What happens if you have two groups that share a common word? In other words, you have north, south, east, west in one of your groups, and then you have another one that has one of the directions as a location of one of your stores, say
Then
north.
you'd have to type two of them. You'd have to type at least the first two so it would recognize what list you wanted to use.
Yeah, but okay. Oh, all right. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, thank you.
Mhm. Okay. Okay. So now we're up to page 28 of the book. So now we're going to go and create what's called an absolute reference. And I'm going to go to the worksheet now that's called absolute. So I have to go do stop share and go to a new share. and go back to this one again. Okay, so now I want to go to the worksheet that's called absolute. Absolute reference, there it is. Okay, so this is sales results. And you know, they're never happy with what we do. So they want, from this total, they want to show a 10% increase. So they're saying the total plus 10%. 10% is here. So I'm going to take, when I input the formulas always start with an equal sign. So I'm going to type equal. And I'm going to click on A1. And I want to multiply that by that 10%. So I'm going to do the multiply sign, which is the asterisk above the number 8, and click on D1. And then I have to plus back in, because all that's going to do is take A2 times 10%. But I have to plus back in A1. So I'm going to hit the plus A1. And then hit enter. Uh-oh. Oh.
You typed A1, it should be A2.
Yes, I see that. Okay, so there's my total. So I can go and just bring that down. But you see what happened? It's not right. It's just showing the 9,000, which is exactly an A3 for the next one. Because it's taking, if you look at the formula bar up here, this is the formula bar, it's taking E3 times D2. And what's in D2? This is D2 right here, nothing. So the next one is taking it by D3. There's nothing. So what I need to do is I need to tell Excel, always take it, always multiply it by D1. So I'm going to go in front of my D1, and then I'm going to hit the F4 key on my keyboard. It's right above the number 4. It says F4. I'm going to click that. And now see what it did? It put a dollar sign in front of the D and a dollar sign in front of the 1. That's telling Excel to always use D1 no matter where I go. So now when I go here and do my fill,
And hit enter.
yes, 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 okay. I thought maybe because the cursor was so big, it was acting up. Okay, so now it's taking D1. If you look at all the cells here, so now it's taking A4 times D1 plus A4. Okay, any questions? Okay. Okay, that goes up to page 29. Okay, so now we're going to go and do a VLOOKUP. So I'm going to go to the VLOOKUP worksheet. I don't know how I'm going to get to it now.
It's right next to it.
Yeah, I see it. Okay, because I keep getting these things in the way all the time. Okay, so I am a school teacher and I've got multiple students. And of course, I teach math and it's always based on a numeric grade. But of course, the school wants it to be an alpha grade. So for example, this first person here had an 82. So now I'm going to do the midterm report cards. So I have to put it to a numeric grade. So 82 would give that person a B. It's right here, 80 to 89. That would equal a B. The next person's got 82, so he would be a B as well. The next person's got a 92, so that would give that person an A. So I'd have to look that up for every single person, which would be a pain. But I can have Excel do that for me, which is a function which is called VLOOKUP. So I'm going to go in the box here where it says grade. I'm going to go to cell G2. And I'm going to go to the formula tab up here. And I'm going to go to lookup and reference right here, lookup and reference. And I'm going to look for VLOOKUP. So it gives me this little box. Oh, I got to put it down here. Which is kind of helps you. Like once you learn, oh, you know, if you do this enough, you wouldn't have to use the wizard. But it's kind of nice to use the wizard because it puts the punctuation in where it's supposed to go and stuff. Okay, so the first thing it says is look up value. So what do I want to look up? I want to look up what's in F2. So I'm going to click on F2. Okay, then they're saying, where do I look this up? Where's this table? The table is in J, K, and L. So I highlight that. Oh, wait, I did that wrong. Delete. Look at this, and then go to the table. J, K, and L. And then it says, what column is it in? This is column 1, which says final. Column 2 says points, and L is the grade, which is in column 3. So I'm gonna, in here, type 3. And then say, okay. So then I put my grade in a B. So I can drag that down, and it automatically fills that out. So see what a time saver that would be if I had 100 students I needed to put their numeric grade in. Any questions on that? No questions, okay. So now we're going to go and do an Hlookup. So that's on my next worksheet, Hlookup. So in this one, the VLOOKUP only stands, I'm going to go back to that V. VLOOKUP means this chart here is vertical. That's what the V stands for. It's vertical. When I go to my Hlookup, this chart to come up with the commission amount is horizontal. So that's the difference between VLOOKUP and Hlookup. So in this one, what I want to do for the sales commission, I want to do an Hlookup. So I'm going to go back to that formula and go to lookup and look for Hlookup. So it brings up this. So the lookup value is in B2, the 2000. The table is down here. In B2 to G13. And the percentage that I'm looking at is in column 2, the second row. So I'm going to put a 2 in there. So this one is saying that what this person that had the $2,000, they're going to use this 10%. It shows you 0.1. And say, okay. But now I have to multiply that by what, because all it's doing is getting the percentage of 10%. But I want to know how much commissions this man should get. So I'm going to go in the formula bar, hit my multiply and multiply it by B2 and then hit enter. So he would get commission of $2,000. Okay, now if I go and take this and drag it across, see, it's not doing it right. Because what it did here, because I moved across, just like we did with that absolute one, it's saying it's going to take C2, it's going to look up and it moved over one column for the table. I don't know why it does that for horizontal, but it does. So I need to fix that. So an easy way to fix that is if I highlight this information here in the table, and up in this box right here, I call it commission, C-O-M-M, and hit enter. So when I gave that range a name, so now when I go over here, I'm going to get rid of, delete this. I'm going to go back and do that Hlookup again. No, I should do it right here. So I'm going to go look up in reference and do Hlookup. And what do I want to look up? I want to look up that 2000. What is it doing here? Okay. Hlookup. So I'm going to look up the 2000. And then the table, I called it COM. And the index is still 2. I'm going to say OK. So now it gave me that 10%. Now I'm going to multiply that by A2, B2 rather. What?
You didn't do it by B2, you did it by 2.
The keyboard didn't work, not me.
Okay.
I didn't make the mistake. The keyboard did. Okay, so now I've got 200. So now if I go and drag this across, there's the totals for all those people. But I think I would be nice for these people here. I'm going to go to the home key. I think it would be nice to have it show a dollar sign. So now it all shows dollar signs. Okay, so now I can take this row, highlighted, right click, say copy, and paste it to the next row. Right click and say paste. So you see how I've got that flashing cursor going around this row 3? That means that cell is still active, and I can copy that again. So I can go down to row 7, right click, and say paste again. The same, I can go down to row 9, right click, and say paste. Now to get that cursor to stop flashing, I'm going to hit the escape. So now that's no longer active.
We have a question,
Okay.
and it's not really what you're talking about, but when I use a filter and delete columns in a worksheet, it defaults to the original in a workbook. Columns reappear. How do I get that not to happen? I need to be, okay. Use filter and delete columns in a worksheet. It defaults the original in a workbook sheet. Columns reappear. So I would think that you wouldn't filter them, you just get rid of the columns, then you'd filter it. What do you think?
I don't use filters that much, so you're more of an expert on the filters than I am.
Jan, could you just like show me what you did and send it to me, and I will try to fix it. So send it to me after class. But I have a feeling that I wouldn't filter, I would delete the columns, then I'd filter, but that's just me. So just send me what you're talking about after class. Okay.
Okay, any questions on the Hlookup? Okay, that goes up to page 32 of your book. Okay, so now we're gonna go and do some more counting. So I'm gonna go back to that workbook that was called Voters. So I'm gonna go and do my Control N to get to the bottom. Okay, so I wanna know right here in this column 403, how many of these voters are Democrats? So you can see like this, this worksheet's 4,000 columns. So what I can do is I could go and sort it, put all the Democrats together, and then I can count them. But I don't need to do that. I can have Excel do this for me. To have Excel do this for me, I'm going to do what's called a function, which is called count if. So I'm going to go to the formula tab again and go to more functions. And I'm going to go to statistical and I'm going to look for count if. Here it is here. So it brings up this little box here. So first of all, I have to tell it what I wanted to do. So the range that I'm going to do, because I know my first row is the headers. So I'm going to go from column B2. So I'm going to put B2 colon to B4002, B4002. Okay, so that's saying, it's showing you here that what's in there is Republican, Democrat, whatever. Okay, the criteria that what I wanted to count, I wanted to count how many are Democrat. So I'm going to type Democrat. Did I spell it right? Yeah. Then say okay. So there's my count of Democrats. So see how that can save you some time? You don't have to go sort, you can just tell it what you want it to count. And that goes up to page 34 of your book. Questions? Okay.
Is it case sensitive?
No, because I typed Democrat in the lowercase letters and it still gave me the answer. Okay, because you see up here in my formula bar, you can see I have it in all lowercase. And you see how it put, equal, count if, it put the parenthesis B2 to colon to B 4002, put the comma in, then put quotes around Democrat, and then close the parentheses. So that's the nice thing about using the wizard, because it puts in all the punctuation where it needs to go. You don't have to try to figure it out. Okay, so now we're going to go to concatenation. I never can say it right, but I'm going to go to the worksheet that's called names. Oh, where is it?
It's right next to voters.
Okay. So remember before the last time, we had the people's names separated like this one is. Their first names in one column, the last names in a second column. Well, in this case, I want the names to be together, first and last name. So I'm going to go to cell C3. I'm going to go to that formula bar and hit text and look for concatenate. So then it asks me what I want to do. So I want to take Paulette, what's an A3, and then the next one, I'm going to put in a quote, a space bar, and a quote. That's going to put a space between the first and last name. If I don't do that, the whole name's going to run together. And then the next one, I'm going to click on B3, and it shows me at the bottom how it's going to look. Paulette Goddard. I'm going to say OK. And then I can just go and grab that and tab it down. Okay, so now you know how to take their names apart, and then you know how to put them back together. Questions? Comments? Okay. I'm going to go back to that first workbook, which was what's called Goal Seek. So in this case, I still want this $100,000, but I cannot afford to pay $843 or whatever it says. I looked at my budget, and the most I can afford to pay would be $800. So I need to figure out what an interest rate would be. I need to look for it to get that $800 payment of $800. I still want the 100,000, but so what and I'm still want to take it out for the 15 years, but so I need to find a lower interest rate. So this is called Goal Seek. So to do that, I'm going to click on the Data tab, and I'm going to go to the Goal Seek. I can move this to the What If, and I'm going to say Goal Seek. And it brings up this box here. So what I'm saying is I want to set the cell in B4, which is the $843, to a value of 800. So I'm going to click minus 800. Minus 800. And what I wanted to change is this interest rate. So I click that, and I'm going to say OK. Let me say OK. So there it is. So you'll notice now this interest rate is showing 5%. But if I click on the 5% and you look up here at the formula bar, because I only have this showing, 2 decimal places, it actually is 5.17615. So I need to go to the bank, a bank that would give me an interest rate of 5.17. Okay, and that's on page 36. Okay, everyone, any questions on that? Okay,
Sue,
yes.
to actually show the 5.17, you could go back
Right, I can
to
increase the,
home and then add 2 additional decimal places also,
Right.
correct?
right. I can just go here and go format that cell
Right, to give it 2 additional decimal places.
and give it as many as I want, say okay. So there it's showing us, you can go as far as you want with it. Okay, so now we're gonna go and do some subtotals
Community safe, masks are required for
as
all
soon as she
patrons,
gets done talking.
including those who've been vaccinated. Masks must cover their nose, mouth, and chin at all times. Patrons who do not wear masks properly will be asked to leave. Maintain a distance of at least 6 feet from others. Limit visits to 1 hour per day. Place all unwanted materials on marked carts and refrain from eating and drinking in the building. Thank you.
Okay. So to do the subtotals, first of all, your data has to be grouped all together. So, if I want a subtotal of everyone from east, north, northeast, south, blah, blah, blah. Okay, first of all, I've got to sort it. And mine's already sorted, so I don't need to do that. But you would, if you need to sort, you got to sort it first. Otherwise, you're going to get breaks in your subtotals. Okay, so I'm going to once again go to the data tab, and all the way over here to the far right is subtotals. So first of all, I'm going to highlight all this information. So now my whole thing is highlighted. Now I'm going to click subtotals. So it's asking, what do I want to do? So at the change in each region, I want to do a sum. I don't want to sum the date. That's stupid. I want to sum the order amount. Okay, and then it's going to put replace current subtotals, summary below, blah, blah. So I'm going to say, okay. So there's my subtotals, that fast. Okay, you'll notice how my worksheet changed. I have over here, I've got a 1, 2, and a 3. So if I click on number 2, it's just giving me each region and their totals, which is probably what I would want to print. Because let's say if this was as big as that voters worksheet, and I'd want to know how many were Democrats or whatever they were, I'd have to print all 4,000 lines. I don't want to do that. Okay, and then the next one, where it's just a plain 1, just gives me the grand total. Okay, any questions on that? If I need to add more names to it, which I could do, but first I would need to clear out my subtotals. So I'm going to go back to subtotal, and I'm going to say remove all. And now it's back to the way it was to begin with. Okay, that goes up to page 38. Okay, so I'm going to go back to that 2011 sales when I'm on it already, so I don't need to go back to it. Okay, so on this 2011 sales force, I'm going to do what's called some conditional formatting. So I'm going to be in the data tab, or home tab, sorry, go to the home tab. And I'm going to go to conditional formatting. And I'm going to do highlight cell rules. And I want to go less, oh wait, first of all, I have to highlight what I want to do. Conditional formatting. Okay, so I'm going to do highlight cell rules less than, I want to know everyone who's less than $100. So I'm going to type 100. And it says here it's going to do it light red and dark red. And that's good. So I'll say okay. So now see how it highlighted all the people that were less than $100. I'm going to go back and highlight that again. And now I want to do top and bottom rules. I'm going to go conditional formatting, top and bottom rules. And now I want those that are above average. I'm going to click that. And now it's going to make it light red. Well, I can't do light red because I will get mixed up between those people that are less than 100. So I can change the color. I'm going to make it yellow. And then say, okay. So there's my people. Oh, I went all the way down to the bottom. There's all my people that are less than 100 in red, and those that are above average are yellow. Questions? That goes up to page 43 of your book. Okay, so then to get rid of it, go highlight here, and do my conditional formatting. And I'm gonna say clear rules. Clear rules from the entire sheet. So there, I'd put it back to the way it was before. That's on page 45.
Sue, this is Ed again. If you would have saved that colored worksheet and then brought it up again, added additional information, would those rules have automatically carried through, or do you have to go through the rules every time you add new data?
Well, if you value the cells, like all I did was I hit D. So it went all the way down to my millionth row.
Okay,
So as long as I input data in there, it would still use the same rules.
okay, so
You know, but
the,
if I just went and highlighted just these,
no, I understand that. What I'm talking about is as we continue to add data and save worksheets and bring them back to work on them again, the rules stay in. Once you set the rules in the first session, those rules carry through to the second, third,
right,
subsequent.
as long as you highlighted all those rows. If you
So
didn't
the
highlight
rules,
these, if you didn't highlight the rows below what you had in the first place, it's not going to know to do that.
okay, so you would have to highlight, if you wanted to add rows,
Highlight the ones you did.
well, you could add something to Smith Alice on below row 13, right, in the northeast.
Yeah,
And then would those original rules stay in place?
yes,
Okay, so the rules are saved with the worksheet.
yes.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm. Okay. So now we're going to go and do a sorting of a worksheet. And I think which one I'm going to use for that. Not that one. Okay, I'm going to use this one here, which is called the US Salesforce. Okay, so you'll see I got some West people, I got some East people, I got Northeast people, I got Northeast people here, I got them here, and I got South here and here. Why isn't this moving? Down at the bottom, I've got East and West again. So the first thing I need to do is to sort them. So I'm going to highlight what I want to sort. And on the Home tab, I'm going to go to that editing group, sort and filter. And I'm going to do a custom sort. So the first thing I want to sort by is the region. So I'm going to select region. And it's going to be sorted on values. A to Z is good. Then I'm going to add a level. Click here, add a level. And then I want to sort it by the name. So I'm going to sort it next by the salesperson. And then I want to add another level because I want to sort it by their order amount. I'll click order amount. So now I'm going to do smallest to largest, and that's what I want. I'm going to say OK. So there, it all sorted it all out that quickly. Okay, one thing I should have pointed out and I didn't, so I'm going to go back to that sorting. I did a custom sort. It's important if you have a header row, which mine does, to make sure this box is checked. My data has header rows. If I didn't check that box, it would put region in alphabetic order. So it would put region before south. Then it would, put salesperson into. So you need to make sure if you have a header row that you have that boxes checked. Okay, any questions? Okay, the last thing I have is to do the charts. So I'm going to go to the worksheet that's called chart. And here's my chart. And this is on page 48 of the book. So I'm going to go highlight this chart. I'm going to go to insert. And then I'm just going to click recommended charts, because based on what data I selected, Excel determines what would be the most appropriate chart for that data. So Annie teaches a separate class on charts. This is a little basic thing. So if you're interested in doing charting, you have to go to one of Annie's classes. Okay, so I'm just going to click recommended chart. And it says it should be, it said this one, bar chart. So I'm going to say okay to that. And there's my chart. Now, if I had a lot of data, like say like the voters, and I was going to chart that, I wouldn't want to have that. I would want that on a separate sheet. So I'm going to click on the chart, and I'm going to click on move chart, and I want it to be in a new sheet, and say okay. So now it just creates a separate sheet. And then you can fool around with color changes and data stuff if you like with that. Any questions on any of that? Okay, well then that's it for this class. I hope you learned at least one thing.